Hi guys, welcome back. It's Tommy with a Starcraft Remastered replay cast, as we have a very interesting retro engagement from the year, I believe it was 2015. So we're traveling back in time to see a very interesting matchup here in between the two pro players. Let me just start by introducing them to you. As you have spawning here in the upper left in the pink, it is BONYTH. I believe he is from Russia, a known player in the Starcraft Remastered scene. And his opponent spawning here at the 3 o'clock position in the yellow, it is CADENZIE from the United States, a female pro here. So quite an interesting matchup here on the Tommy Starcraft channel. Let's have a look exactly what their build orders are going to be. I believe it is a 2 spawning location map, a very beautiful map here, a very sandy map. No, actually it could be even a 3 spawning location map, as CADENZIE is sending out here her overlord into the 6 o'clock position of the map. So yeah, still a pro game. You can see it from the high APM here for both players. Still no reaction here from CADENZIE. No spawning pool, no gas. Just pretty much droning up and adding a overload. In the meantime, we have BONYTH opening up here very standardly with his pylon and his gateway. So no intentions yet for him to go for a fast expansion, as he's also sending out here his scouting probe. Same can be said here for CADENZIE, that is checking the 6 o'clock position there. More droning up happening here, and finally a drone is being sent out here by CADENZIE to check the expansion point. So it looks like indeed a fast expansion point for her, and still no gas, still no spawning pool, as she's sending out yet another drone here. And we actually do have a double gateway build order here by BONYTH. This will very likely indicate to us that he's going to try to be aggressive early on with some zealots, and a pylon that is getting cancelled here, and yet another one. I believe he might have tried the pylon trick to get more resources here from this gas. Let's have a look. It's actually a 4 spawning location map, as CADENZIE is also checking the 12 o'clock position here, and there is her, or should be her, spawning pool. Yet gas a little bit delayed here for CADENZIE, so let's have a look what her plans are going to be here. Usually it's spawning pool into gas, but yeah, only the spawning pool yet, as finally the probe arrives here towards the location from CADENZIE. Let's have a look what BONYTH is going to go for. No forge, no cybernetic score for him, also no gas, so he might go very heavily into those zealots. There it is indeed, zealot gameplay here by BONYTH versus the spawning pool that is about to get finished here for CADENZIE. And the first Zerglings will also be hatched very soon, as we do indeed see 3 zealots move out here onto the map. So it's going to be an early aggression by BONYTH. CADENZIE might have to react with a sunken very soon. I believe that's exactly what she's doing. The overlord sees now, of course, the attack, so indeed a sunken is the first move here by CADENZIE. The Zerglings are out, but perhaps more Zerglings are needed, as so many zealots do move here forward. I believe BONYTH is going to wait for 2 more zealots, so this could be deadly, very deadly early on. She might need yet another sunken, she might need more Zerglings to fend this off. Let's see if she's going to be successful, as BONYTH is moving now forward with his 5 zealots. 2 Zerglings on the counter, but yeah, 5 zealots very strong early on. 1 sunken is being completed. Speed, of course, has not been done, but those Zerglings need to be here to protect the sunkens, if you ask me. So in comes the attack, in come the Zerglings, and BONYTH actually decides to move back. So CADENZIE had a little bit too much. Even the drones have been pulled now for the expansion. Let's have a look what those 2 Zerglings can do here, perhaps snapping a probe or 2, and we might see a transition into some cybernetic score into the Dragoons. And yeah, a little bit of an annoyance here, as the zealots are still waiting here for BONYTH. Very huge number there for him. I believe he could even try his luck to snap the sunken. The 2 Zerglings are still being left alive. 1 probe is dropping really low, so 1 is getting snapped. So CADENZIE with a very smart move here, causing some chaos into the main from BONYTH, as we see a starport getting finished. But hold on, actually the zealots do come here forward, so BONYTH pretty much throwing everything he has towards CADENZIE. Drones have been pulled, Zerglings have been pulled. We have a nice surround attempt here by CADENZIE, and the zealots are dropping more and more low. So yeah, without speed, those zealots are really slow, of course. And now finally a good fight for BONYTH, taking out a couple of those Zerglings. Still the early rush has pretty much nicely being fended off as more and more zealots will fall here for a BONYTH. So CADENZIE with a great defense, still on tier 1, not having so many drones, only 13 drones for her. I believe she's going to try now to drone up, or is she going to try to actually win the game? She's moving forward with her Zerglings. The 2 Zerglings into the main have been taken out. Citadel for the speed, but the way is pretty much shot here, so nice reaction by BONYTH as lots and lots of Zerglings do move here forward. 3 zealots to guard the ramp. Should be okay, but with that CADENZIE of course might have a smaller advantage as she has 17 drones with an expansion, and she's even decided to expand here into this location. So we've passed the 5-minute mark, a very early aggression, a nice interesting game here by BONYTH, but in the end CADENZIE nicely held it with a sunken, and I believe she's even going into a... no, it's actually a high risk then, so she might want to take control of this expansion right here, getting a nice surround, having speed being done, and BONYTH losing more and more units at the same time. He's nicely microing his units, so the Zerglings will be taken out eventually. So pretty good engagement here by BONYTH, as I believe BONYTH now will be able to secure his expansion as well. So very nice stuff by both players actually. One probe dropping really low, but in the end of course this is going to get cleared. And yeah, BONYTH now of course taking his expansion. CADENZIE already at 3. I believe she's not going to be going into tier 2. She will very likely try and attack with some Hydralisk, but in the meantime the Corsair taking out a couple of, actually 1 Overlord there, so nice stuff by BONYTH of course, keeping CADENZIE at bay. The Hydralisk have to stay home to guard those Overlords, and yeah, BONYTH with great stuff here, giving more time towards his expansion. As slowly but steadily we're closing towards the 10-minute mark, we can of course see the production tab here in the upper left part, just in case I'm missing something. We have a Templar archive, so very likely BONYTH will go for some High Templars. Perfect counter towards the sheer masses of Hydralisk on the ground and those Zerglings as well. Finally, we do have the tier 2 started here for CADENZIE, so she might go into some Mutalisk. It would be very interesting to see some Mutalisk. Could be also Lurkers for her. Lurkers of course nicely countering the ground units from the Protoss. And in the meantime, once again, some Zerglings do make it here forward, taking some damage. In the end, the Dragoon will of course be able to fend this off. One other probe has been sniped, but probe wise and drone wise we pretty much have the same amount here for both players. And yeah, let's see what's going to happen next as more and more buildings are getting added here. Nice macro hatch by CADENZIE, and more minerals are getting mined for her. Going to be very interesting to see of course if she's going to be going for those Lurkers, or which one of the 2 players is going to be able to attack. I believe currently we have a small stalemate, both players just pretty much preparing their macro orientated game as more and more buildings are being added and more upgrades actually start. You can even see of course Psionic Storm here for BONYTH, the much needed upgrade against those Hydralisk on the ground. And CADENZIE could even try a drop harassment with those Overlords. She will of course need speed and the upgrade for those Overlords to be able to drop units perhaps into the main, straight into the production buildings here from BONYTH. As yeah, there's just a couple of cannons here and some High Templars to defend the expansion point. So still no major engagement, just a small first early harassment by BONYTH with some zealots. Sadly for him it didn't work out. CADENZIE with a great defense with only 1 sunken and a nice SimCity build order here as well to give protection towards this 1 sunken. So as you can see on the minimap, we still don't have a major move out here by both players. BONYTH of course waiting for CADENZIE to attack in order to kill the units with the High Templar Storms. He might even try expect and drop here into this location as we see him go into more and more gateway units. So it's going to be very likely a all gateway Protoss versus sheer masses of the Zerg Lurkers with Hydralisk, some Zerglings as well. We might even see some Ultralisk. Let's have a look as CADENZIE is very close towards the main from BONYTH, but of course very hard to move here forward, especially thanks to those 2 High Templars. The cannons are also nicely being placed, and she's still producing more and more Hydralisk with some Lurkers, with the ability for the Lurkers. We also have the upgrades and we also have the faster Overlord movement here for her. as she has also taken the other expansion. So currently only that 2 bases versus soon to be 4 bases from the Zerg. Let's see, I believe CADENZIE is going to try to be more of a macro game. She might just expand all over the map and she might just secure the other expansion points here from BONYTH, but BONYTH made it here forward for the ramp with this one probe, so he's very likely going to be taking his expansion here as well at the 10 o'clock position. So very interesting game indeed we have. It's going to be very interesting to see if indeed CADENZIE looks like she is moving out with the overlords. We have more and more upgrades getting done here for both players. It could be a drop attempt, but I don't think that she upgraded the transport ability for those overlords. I believe she will also very likely try to cancel the newly established base here from BONYTH. So pretty much throwing everything she has here towards BONYTH. Some lurkers will of course be also needed, as in comes the overlord moving here forward, seeing of course massive amounts of gateways, seeing all the upgrades there, and I believe this is going to of course force her to go for some lurkers very soon, as the Corsair is still patrolling here the map. So let's have a look. More and more units are getting added. We see her move forward with sheer masses of Hydralisk as she's attacking this refinery here, and let's see if she's going to be able to move forward. I believe she has to kill it multiple times, as in comes the first high temper storms. The Hydralisks do take quite some damage. Interesting enough, BONYTH deciding not to stay home at the cover of the cannons. He decided to move here out. And those zealots with those upgrades are of course really, really strong. Finally the reinforcements from BONYTH are moving here forward, and in the end he is able to hold this attack, even sniping the overlord here. So CADENZIE might have to consider into going into some other units, perhaps some Ultralisk, perhaps some Zergins in the front to have a meat grinder against the units from BONYTH. And we even have an Archon now. Archon of course also great with the splash damage against the units. But hold on, actually CADENZIE is moving more and more forward, attacking more and more of the units from BONYTH. But those high temper storms, very, very hard for the Zerg to out micro those, as we even finally have now some lurkers on the ground, and the lurkers are being observed here with the 2 observers in the air. But more and more is getting thrown out by CADENZIE. She's sniping unit after unit, very nicely done by her. Her economy is also looking really, really strong, as more and more units are getting added by her, but she needs more lurkers, and she might even need some Ultralisk on the ground, as she just keeps on spawning more and more units. We actually have mass overlords in the air, as they're able to supply block here CADENZIE. So yeah, very very interesting matchup still, as CADENZIE decides to stay on Hydralisk. Lurkers are also here, but it's just mass dragoons. Some zealots will of course be much needed here for BONYTH, and his expansion now finally will be finished, as more and more is getting thrown out. Perhaps CADENZIE also needs those units here. Hold on, we actually have BONYTH move out. I believe he's also very likely going to try to secure his other expansion point, moving forward with those high templars, having vision, having a great storm now against all of those Hydralisk. CADENZIE not paying attention, losing many units here, as she's of course being fended off, so she has to retreat a little bit, still staying on Hydralisk. What are her next option? Even going to some sunken, so she is expecting an attack here by BONYTH, as she's losing more and more of those ground units. At the same time, a smart move by her, taking the expansion right here, but of course BONYTH could punish this if he's moving forward towards this location. So lots and lots of sunkens are getting produced here by CADENZIE, as in comes the attack by BONYTH. So around the 15-minute mark, BONYTH decides to move out with more than 100 of supply. Sunkens are here to protect the buildings. The zealots are in the front, taking some damage. Dragoons in the back also deal great damage. The Sunkens have finished, but there's still so many zealots in the front, giving more and more tankiness towards those Dragoons. At the same time, CADENZIE comes in from the back. Great micro here by BONYTH, and also great micro by CADENZIE, throwing everything she has of course to defend. Still the Archon now finally gets killed, but more and more damage is being taken here by CADENZIE, and in the end those 3 Sunkens weren't enough to hold this. CADENZIE really needs more and more of the supply to fend this off. The lurkers will of course be much needed on the low ground to take out the Protoss units. So a great move by BONYTH around the 15 mark, losing of course some units, but it was all worthy, as more and more is getting lost here by CADENZIE. Finally the lurkers will come into play, but there are 2 observers in the air. Still the Dragoons very low, And in the end, I believe CADENZIE should be able to hold this, but she did do some sunkens. The Hydro stand has also been sniped, so finally she's able to clear this, even killing the observers. But yeah, with that, BONYTH having perhaps a smaller advantage here, even having a better economy, and also he might decide to take the next expansion here for him, as another group of zealots is being sent out. I don't really agree with this move out. This is pretty much a suicide mission. I believe BONYTH just going to try to keep CADENZIE at home, perhaps going to try to be lucky to snipe a drone or two, as in come the zealots. Moving here forward, being able to snipe one drone, and even a drone are attacking now. So yeah, in the end this will be held. And yeah, once again we are turning into the macro game, as those gateways at home here for BONYTH pretty much producing great amount of units. And once again he has a very strong force, but those zealots which he has suicided would have been very great for him to have them into the next attack. I believe he's preparing an attack towards this expansion point right here, or maybe this one, as the Corsair of course gives great vision and snipes more and more of those overlords. So this could be the next attempt by him. Let's see if he's going to be successful. He might even intercept some Zerglings here. So CADENZIE sending out small groups of Zerglings in order to fend off the next expansion points here from BONYTH. But yeah, BONYTH leaves two zealots here. So this expansion right here is going to be pretty much secured, as he's now once again moving forward. And CADENZIE reacting really fast with some great sunkens in the front. But is it going to be enough for her? It's finally the creep colony finished, but the lurkers will also have to be finished very soon. Two sunkens in the back. The zealots are once again in the front, soaking up the damage. And now one sunken is very likely going to fall very soon. The reinforcements are pouring here forward, but lots and lots of storms by BONYTH, being able to take them out. So pretty much the hydros melt here, and more storms are getting thrown out here by BONYTH. The sunkens finally do finish. The lurkers do take some damage here, but in the end CADENZIE with great losses is being able to hold this attack, as BONYTH has to retreat. At the same time the reinforcements are pouring forward, but still a great move by BONYTH, as he's able to secure this expansion even with two gateways in the front. And CADENZIE with 50 workers all of a sudden, so her economy is also going to be very strong. She might also have a good position now into the late game. So we're closing in towards the 25th minute mark. Who is going to be able to take this game? Perhaps a small advantage here by BONYTH, as his expansion is also about to get finished very soon, so he might have to transfer some of the workers towards the expansion point. And let's have a look what exactly CADENZIE is doing, adding more and more of those macro hatches, and finally going into some evolution chambers. She needs those upgrades very quick, as BONYTH once again I believe he's going to prepare an attack. Let's have a look at his upgrades. 1 armor and 2 damage, as in comes a great attack here by CADENZIE with lurkers from all sides. So BONYTH pretty much is getting surrounded. He needs to cast those storms very quickly. Nice storm. Second storm also really strong by him, pretty much melting and exploding those hydrolisks. The lurkers are still pretty much alive, but there's so much left for BONYTH, and I believe he should be able to fend this off. The Archons also in the front should be able to deal good damage towards those hydrolisks, as we still have anyone's game. So quite an interesting game indeed for both players. More Archons are getting finished here, and that splash damage is really going to hurt all of those hydrolisks, and especially those Zerglings on the ground, as yeah, they're still microing here their units in the middle of the map. But in the meantime, lots and lots of cannons have been finished, and BONYTH looking like he's even going to expand into this location right here. So I believe it's still of course anyone's game. Let's have a look how things will unfold, as BONYTH looking like he's once again moving forward towards the expansion points from CADENZIE. Is he going to wait for those reinforcements? His economy is looking very strong. CADENZIE with not that many units deciding to fall back, believing of course that the next attack is going to happen here into the expansion point. And yeah, more and more Zerglings are actually getting added here. Let's have a look at those upgrades very quickly. 2 for the Hydrolis, and still 0-0 for the Zerglings on the ground. So in comes the attack. No high temper storms now available here for BONYTH, as he's taking more and more damage. Perhaps a little bit too fast of a reaction towards those Archons. Of course, high temper is much more of a better unit with 2 storms for each, as we even have more and more upgrades starting here for the Protoss. And CADENZIE now moving forward with her units as well, as we finally pass the 20-minute mark. So BONYTH looks like he's going to relocate. He has many zealots closing in towards being maxed out. Looking like he's going to prepare an attack onto the first expansion here by CADENZIE. Moving forward with the zealots in the front. Lurkers are still, but there is vision here as BONYTH decides to move back. Still bouncing back and forth. Perhaps a little bit of a mistake by a micro here, losing some units. Needs to be careful. And I believe he's going to pretty much try to max out his army and then move forward. Also preparing an expansion right here. Just nicely moving back and forward here, snapping some units from CADENZIE. So CADENZIE always has to guess where exactly the next step is going to be here for BONYTH. Where is he going to attack? As now BONYTH finally taking control of the middle of the map, and it looks like he's going to move more and more towards the newly established bases here from CADENZIE, and even adding more and more units here out of those gateways. So let's see, the reinforcements finally are moving forward, some high templars here as well, some units being forgotten here by CADENZIE. Finally she's reacting, but the Archons now in the front dealing great damage, so CADENZIE has to bring her reinforcements forward. Lots and lots of zealots in the front, very tanky, very strong. There is vision against the lurkers, so more and more damage is being taken here by BONYTH and CADENZIE. So still these units will of course be held off, but in the end BONYTH dealing more and more damage, and quite a great storm once again being casted. CADENZIE has to of course to hold her ground, but in the end I believe BONYTH pretty much has too much here versus CADENZIE. There are still some units in the back. The Sunkers are pretty much exposed in the front. 3 Sunkers will fall immediately against so much Protoss units here, as we also have a counter attack here by CADENZIE, but looks like yes indeed we do have a great counter by her, but not that many units being added. The newly established base here from CADENZIE pretty much under attack by BONYTH. A great move by CADENZIE with a small group of Zerglings. She will be able to take out the expansion, but the real action is of course happening here, as both players still very close and to the supply. But now finally the economy from CADENZIE is going to suffer quite a lot, as we see CADENZIE take out the expansion there, but her newly established bases also take quite some damage here, as the zealots have even finally made it here forward. But the reinforcements are pulling forward, and it's good units, it's Hydras with lurkers. Finally a good storm here by BONYTH, but in the end he will be held off. He did deal some damage, he did snipe some units, but in the end the attack is going to be held off by CADENZIE. And yeah, after all of the damage has been done, still pretty much the same supply, still pretty much the same worker amount for both players, as BONYTH is once again preparing an attack, this time with a shuttle. Let's see if he has some high templars there. No, it's actually a Reaver and a Dark Archon. Let's have a look how this is going to work out for him. There is some detection here, there are some overloads for him. Sorry, for CADENZIE, as yeah, in comes the shuttle with speed. Nice counter attack here, attempt by CADENZIE, but her units will fall. Yeah, in comes the attack with the DT into this location, but remember there is still a Reaver in the air. So let's see what that Reaver can do against all of those masses, as once again the units have been melted here by BONYTH with the High Templar Storm, and the Dark Templar has been taken out finally here for CADENZIE. So in the end, let's see, it's just a couple of High Templars pretty much exposed here, so he needs to be careful not to lose those High Templars. A very important unit. I believe he's not going to not really have to go into the Archon, just keeping at bay, as more and more Hydras are getting thrown out here by CADENZIE against BONYTH. And the important news is the High Templars have been sniped. There is a Dark Templar now. There is vision, however, by CADENZIE, as BONYTH is losing more and more of his units. Yeah, it's still anyone's game, a very interesting game. I believe BONYTH should be okay here with his cannons. It's just 3 Hydras that pretty much hurt. As in comes the attack, there is even a High Templar here to defend, immediately taking out those units. And let's see what the next moves are going to be. Who's going to be the one attacking? Perhaps BONYTH would have been smarter with the shuttle to move forward, or with the High Templar Storms just in order to snap. But hold on, actually, as I say this, the Reaver has been dropped here into the main, and he even was able to snipe some drones. So now CADENZIE has to bring some units back to fend this off. Let's see how many kills this Reaver has. Oh, just disappeared now, as the nice abusement is continuing here. But sadly here for BONYTH, he lost the shuttle. The Hydras were there to fend this off, and once again an attack is getting prepared. This time BONYTH going to more and more of his Dragoons. So it looks like it's going to be Zealots with Dragoons, no High Templars this time. A little bit of a miss rally here for CADENZIE, as she's going to lose some units here. Even a shuttle once again with a Reaver and 2 High Templar Storms. So quite a deadly move out here by BONYTH as he's moving forward. Let's have a look what that shuttle is going to be able to do. It could be a very massive amount of kills here. Great stuff here by BONYTH, killing so many of the workers from CADENZIE. So nice stuff, just melting all of those workers. In the meantime, his army is also looking very successful here. Great storms once again as CADENZIE is nicely microing her units. I believe she should be okay. But let's see what exactly does she have to fend this off. Lots of Hydras are pretty much hurt. There are reinforcements pouring forward for her, but is it going to be enough against so many Protoss units? There's no Sunkens are this time here to fend off this attack. And BONYTH pretty much going once again for the economy from CADENZIE. Even a great storm once again has been casted as CADENZIE drops to 30 workers. And finally CADENZIE realizes, of course, that this would have been really deadly. So yeah, in the end, BONYTH once again showing us how strong the High Templar Storms can be, and in the end, the Reaver attack with the High Templars also here into this. Look at that, he even had a Reaver here. Let's have a look how many workers. No, just Scarabs are getting produced. So BONYTH with a great stuff by him in the early game. Actually losing those zealots here was a little bit of a mistake, but he really wanted to finish the game. CADENZIE nicely fending off the attack, but in the end, the lack of those Sunkens here for CADENZIE made it possible for BONYTH to come back. A very interesting game, very strong game by both players, a nice back and forward game in the end. Once again, I believe the High Templars were the winning move here for the Protoss, just like we've seen into previous replays. High Templars will be strong for the Protoss against any units. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. This is Tommy signing out.